Welcome back to Unpacking Success. Today I have Dr. Joshua Allen, the founder and owner of Keep Smiling Family Dentistry and Sleep Apnea Options. I'm really excited to have this conversation. Josh, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So we're going to dive right into this. One thing that I find really interesting about you and what you do is the sleep apnea options part. So why don't you explain what that is first of all, and then we'll kind of dive in.
Sleep apnea options is an alternative to the traditional treatment in the world of sleep medicine. You probably know about the CPAP.
Yeah.
It's that mask that's on your face, the Darth Vader mask.
Yeah.
And I wanted to give people an alternative to treating their sleep apnea and to helping them sleep better at night, to helping them breathe better, to achieve longevity and feel better.
Okay. So let's go right into maybe some extreme examples. First of all, how long have you been doing this?
So
interested in the sleep apnea part, just even being interested in it.
Well, I first got introduced to it as a student in dental school. So that was back in 2017.
Okay.
But I've been a dentist now since 2018, so 6 years going.
Okay.
And I really started to get into this form of medicine 2 years ago.
Okay. I know that you got into the sleep apnea side of things because of some like personal reasons. So I know your wife's mother, is that your mother-in-law?
My mother-in-law, correct.
Dealt with some sleep apnea issues. Kind of walk us through that.
Yeah.
Because I know that's personal for you and that was probably a huge part of why you got into it. So explain to us what happened with that and kind of why it kind of pole vaulted you into what you do now.
Well, she had been struggling with some brain fog and worried because her mother died of Alzheimer's, and a doctor had diagnosed her. She had a sleep study. It was an overnight study, and so she was diagnosed with obstructive sleep apnea.
Okay, pause right there real quick. Obstructive sleep apnea, explain
that.
What is that?
So think of your breathing, your airway muscles as a tube or a hose of some sort.
Yeah.
If that gets obstructed, which in the case it often does when we lay down at night, our muscles relax and our tongue falls backwards. The other muscles in the throat can collapse as well. You can also have the upper airway collapse, and that can result in snoring. A lot of people snore. That's when you have a partial collapse, but when you have a complete collapse, and an apnea is considered a complete collapse for 10 seconds or longer with a dip in oxygen.
Okay.
And so they did this test and they found out she was having these airway obstructions multiple times throughout the night.
Yeah.
It was really bad. And so they said that she needed a CPAP. And what is a CPAP? It stands for continuous positive pressure.
Okay.
That's what it is. So throughout the night,
just
this
helps you
continuous
breathe.
Positive pressure is pushing air to open up your airway, helping you breathe.
Okay. So oxygen just continues to flow. It helps with that process.
Yeah, it's not pushing oxygen.
Okay.
But it's just forcing air to help you breathe.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and so they put her on the CPAP device, and she tried it one night. She's a very claustrophobic, could not tolerate it.
Okay.
So she came to me, was telling me about it.
Yeah.
And I ended up finding out about this new pilot program at the school.
Yeah.
Where we were trialing what we call oral appliance therapy. And it's basically a custom-made mouthpiece that moves the lower jaw forward, keeping the tongue from blocking the airway, helping you breathe naturally.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so what kind of extreme examples have you seen when it comes to sleep apnea? Because I don't think it's something that's talked about very often. But what kind of examples have you seen that are relatively extreme that people experience, whether it's symptoms that they experience, and some people die from sleep apnea, is that correct?
It is.
And how many people, like, I know we've talked about this before, but how many people actually probably have sleep apnea? Isn't it 1 in every 3 people? Explain what that statistic is.
Okay. So the first question you asked was, what are some extreme examples?
Yeah, give us some extreme examples.
Well, your sleep affects so many things.
Yeah.
It affects your brain health. It affects every major organ in your body.
Right.
So you talk about things like dementia, diabetes, heart disease. It can affect all those things. It can lead to those things.
Yeah.
And it can affect your ability to lose weight. It can affect your hormone levels. Just your overall well-being.
Right.
it will lessen the number of years of your life, ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone stops breathing long enough, there could be a point where their body gives out and they die in their sleep, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But typically that's years and years and years of neglect.
Right. Okay, so what was the second question to that? Oh, how many people actually have it? Because obviously sleep apnea can cause death.
Right.
So what is the statistic for how many people actually have it?
The CDC estimates over 30 million Americans have it, but 80% of those remain undiagnosed.
So probably 80% have no idea that they even have it.
Exactly.
So we talked a little bit about like some of the symptoms. So snoring, but other than that, and maybe change in behavior, change during your day, maybe energy, different things that have negative effects to not getting good sleep. What other symptoms could people be looking for during their sleep, during their night? Like, or they be using the restroom more often than they should? Or what are some symptoms that they could even be looking for?
Well, there's medical symptoms and there's dental symptoms.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So most of the times the medical symptoms take longer to detect.
Yeah.
That would be things like high blood pressure.
Yeah.
Your sugar levels.
Yeah.
Being increased.
Mm-hmm.
There's other things, insomnia, restless leg syndrome.
Yeah.
You mentioned it, nighttime urination.
Yeah.
There's no other better way to put it, but getting up multiple times throughout the night to
So like, is that 2 or 3 or more? Because I know I probably get up at least once a night to use the restroom.
Mm-hmm.
Is 2 times too much, or is 3, 4?
I usually say once a night is normal for most people.
Right.
But more than that, there's likely an underlying issue going on.
Also, another thing that we've talked about in the past that I think is really cool is that you have some kind of test that people can come in and get. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the test is $20. And explain what that test is, and explain what information that test gives somebody.
Right. So as a dentist, I don't diagnose all those other symptoms. We look at signs in the mouth. And so from a dental standpoint, I first have to do a screening of the patient.
Right.
So I look in their mouth. I'm looking at their tongue. I'm looking at their tonsils. I'm looking at their teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's evidence of clenching or grinding of the teeth, that is a really big sign. If there's evidence of cracked teeth, or chips away along the gum line, or their tongue is really big and their mouth is small.
Yeah.
When they stick their tongue out, I look to see, can I even see in the back of the throat? It's something called a Mallampati score. People that have a higher Mallampati. So there's a stage 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this is all anatomical. You can't help this. It's the way you were born.
Right, yeah.
But a class 3 or 4 will put someone at risk for sleep apnea. Now, if I start seeing these signs, I start looking at their medical history, and then we have feedback from the patient. Are they tired?
Right.
Are they waking up feeling refreshed or not?
Yeah.
So then we might say, hey, let's get you tested and see what's going on. And the test that we do is a ring. That's all it is. You used to have to go to a lab, sleep overnight, and someone's watching you. Now, you still have to do that if this test doesn't give a conclusive result.
Right.
But what this test is measuring, it's measuring more than just sleep apnea. It's actually measuring your breathing patterns. It's measuring the stages of sleep. How long are you sleeping? Are you having fragmented sleep? There's multiple things. It's a whole sleep health assessment. It's not just apnea. And so each night, the report is only $20.
Wow.
So you need at least 2 nights to really get an idea. One night, there's too much variability in our sleep.
Right.
One night, though, will at least give us an idea. Hey, is this worth exploring?
Yeah.
Should we continue to do more testing? And that way we can actually find out what's going on during your sleep. And then we send the worst of those nights to a board-certified sleep physician, usually a pulmonologist.
Right.
And he or she is the one that does the diagnosis of the disease.
Real quick, how many people die from sleep apnea in a year?
That's a great question. I mean, you can look up statistics of how many people die of heart disease, heart attack, stroke, those kinds of things.
Right.
Because what came first.
Right.
Know? There's so many medical problems today, and a lot of those probably have to do with how we're sleeping, how we're eating. It's more than just one thing. It's multifaceted, and that's kind of the fun part for me, is getting to the bottom of things, finding out what are the root causes, what's really contributing to the obesity epidemic,
right?
The all the diseases that are happening in our society.
Well, so you're exactly right, obviously, but I looked it up, just how many people die from sleep apnea per year.
Yeah.
And it says in the United States about 38,000 people die
of just sleep apnea,
which is kind of crazy that 38,000 people die per year. And actually, if you went out and you asked just people on the street, random people, if they knew even what sleep apnea was, they probably wouldn't even be able to tell you. And then it continues to go that say, all of these things, if left untreated, as you said, it can lead to serious complications like heart disease, diabetes, strokes, high blood pressure, asthma, stuff like that. So very interesting. Now, what about this? So before I met you, I really had no idea what sleep apnea was either. I know my wife. What did I actually call it when we first met? What did I call it? Sleep.
I don't.
It was where you have a hard time going to sleep or a hard time staying asleep. I confused it for something completely different because I had no idea what it was. And you've educated me a lot on what it is. So for me, I take it seriously. But for the average person out there that thinks, you know what, sleep apnea, I don't think it's important. I sleep fine. Why should that person be a little bit more cautious around what it is and why they should maybe look a little bit more into it?
That's a great question. Well, that's the biggest challenge for me, to be perfectly honest.
I bet.
Is awareness.
Yeah.
Getting the word out there.
Right.
A lot of times people come to my office for a cleaning.
Right.
For example.
Yeah.
And then you start bringing up all this other stuff, and they're like, is my dentist talking to me about sleep?
Yeah.
And so approaching the subject delicately with people, so you're not, I don't want to freak them out too much.
Right.
But recognizing that I have a duty and responsibility to educate my patients about this, especially because it is affecting not just their teeth, which it has a terrible effect on the teeth.
Right.
It affects everything I do as a dentist.
Of course.
But more importantly, their overall health. And so I just want people to take some time, maybe take 5 minutes to do a little bit of research into it. And if you're unsure, we do free consults.
Yeah.
So we will sit down with the patient or with a potential patient, tell them it is what we do, tell them what sleep apnea is, how it affects their overall health.
Right.
And why you should get tested.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's incredibly important just from the stories that we've talked about and the things that you've taught me. So for the listener, or for if you're watching this, definitely make sure I've included the links to their website that has a bunch of information around all of this. So make sure that you visit their website, make sure that you educate yourself as much as possible around this. Like he said, 5 minutes while you're drinking coffee or something, just at least click on the website, go visit, and just educate yourself a little bit more. I mean, we can never educate ourselves more. So anyways, go check that out. Links are below. What I want to kind of pivot into
that, by the way.
Yeah, of course. What I kind of want to pivot into is kind of just why you chose this path in the first place. So kind of going back to little Josh, right? Before you became a doctor, before you did all of these great things, is there something that drew you to the dentistry? Because you also own a really successful dentistry. What kind of drew you into that field? Go through the schooling and through maybe some hard times that you went through, going through all of that maybe you didn't feel like you were going to get through it, and kind of what continued to push you on. I know there's a lot of unpack there, but this is unpacking success. So,
so start at the beginning.
Yeah, kind of walk us through that journey, because who knows, there may be somebody who listens or watches that's like, it's always been my dream to become a dentist, and I didn't realize this sleep apnea was a thing. It may make me a better dentist. So kind of walk them through from the beginning, kind of how you got into things, and some of the things that were challenging along the way, and kind of what's made it worth it now. But unpack at your own leisure there.
It's funny because you never know where you're going to end up.
Okay.
You always have ideas in your head of what you want to be, or maybe you don't, but it's a big ask for a kid to say, like, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
It's like, you have no idea, right?
Yeah.
But I did know pretty early on that I wanted to help people in the medical field. My grandfather, I didn't even know him.
Okay.
But my grandfather on my mom's side.
Yeah.
He died early on. He was in his low 60s, I believe.
Okay.
Of a brain tumor.
Yeah.
And so when I heard about that, I really wanted to do something about that. I was like, I want to be a brain surgeon.
Right.
If that helps people with that, and can prevent them from dying, if I can help catch that early on, that's what I want to do with my life.
Okay.
So I knew I wanted to do something in the medical realm.
Right.
It wasn't until I got to college. It was after my freshman year. I was jumping around different majors.
Yeah.
Finding something that would stick, and someone told me, you need to go shadow. What that is looking over someone's shoulder, other doctors, and seeing the day-to-day.
Right.
Because this is something you're going to do for the rest of your life. You want to make sure. It's a long journey.
Yeah.
You got to go through your undergraduate education. You got to get good grades.
Yeah.
You got to be involved with community service. You got to volunteer.
Absolutely.
You got to jump through all these hoops. And then you go to dental school or medical school.
Yeah.
That's another 4 years. And then there's residencies sometimes.
Yeah.
That's even more schooling. So you're in school so much before you finally are actually working.
Right.
And so that's what I did. I started shadowing. I shadowed doctors. I shadowed surgeons. I shadowed dentists.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. Every dentist I shadowed, and there's different specialties in dentistry. So it wasn't just general dentists.
Right.
It was, prosthodontists, orthodontists.
Yeah.
It was all sorts of different dentists.
Yeah.
Which was eye-opening in and of itself, that there was a whole world. It wasn't just someone that
Cleans
comes
your
in
teeth.
and looks at your teeth.
Right.
And the dentist doesn't clean your teeth. That's the hygienist,
Right.
So I didn't want to clean people's teeth, but I found out more after shadowing that it's working with your hands. It's giving people beautiful smiles. It's different for every single individual.
Yeah.
And it's also a unique opportunity within medicine to have your own business, to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
To work relatively normal hours.
Right.
To go home and not be on call at 2 or 3 in the morning because there's an emergency. There's very few true dental emergencies out there.
Right.
That can't wait.
Right. Yeah.
And so I shadowed the dentists. They all were saying they loved it. They would do it over again. The doctors, different story. They struggled to have time with their families. And for me, family's really big.
Right.
And I wanted to be, in the future at the time, I was like, I want to be a good father, a good husband. I want to be there for my future family.
Yeah, of course.
And so dentistry was the path I chose.
Yeah.
And one thing led to another after a lot of, it was a struggle.
Yeah.
I didn't get into dental school right away.
Oh, okay.
I actually had a big car accident my freshman year of college that set me back.
Okay.
And I ended up failing, I think it was chemistry.
Okay.
I'd never failed anything like that in my life.
Right.
I was the straight A student, did well in school, but that was a major setback for me.
Right.
And I'm jumping around here, but that changed me tremendously.
Yeah.
Both on a spiritual standpoint as well as a career standpoint.
Right.
So we can get into that if you want. But
yeah. So we're going to get into, because Josh is a fellow believer just like I am. And so I want to get into that part of your story. But before we do, we're going to take a quick break and then we'll be right back. All right, we are back, and we're going to jump into Joshua's faith and how that's kind of guided him into being a successful entrepreneur today. So walk us through a little bit about what faith means to you. And we kind of were talking earlier a little bit about, well, faith in what and who do you believe in? Because a lot of people have faith in the universe. A lot of people believe in that there is a greater being out there somewhere. But walk us through a little bit about what that means to you. And
well, I believe in the God of the Bible. I believe Jesus Christ is the Son of God in the flesh.
Yeah.
Came, died for my sins, rose again.
Yeah.
And that he wants a relationship with all of us.
Yeah.
And those who put their faith and trust in him will be saved.
Yeah.
So for me, faith is believing in God, right?
Yeah.
But it could be more general, something higher than yourself.
Right.
But I truly believe that putting your faith in Jesus is the most important thing to everything. It dictates so much of what I do, who I am, how I conduct myself. And it's changed me truly, like dead and alive.
Yeah.
Like those are two states of being.
Yeah. Two extremes.
Right?
Yeah.
You're either dead and incapable of choosing life unless someone brings you back to life.
Right.
If you're a doctor and you're treating a disease, you know, someone has a disease, they're incapable of healing themselves without the cure.
Yeah.
I think we're all born into this world that's broken. We all know that something's not right about this world.
Yeah.
That truly this is a broken world. There's so much evil. There's so much wrong. There's so much injustice. There's so much. The Bible calls that sin.
Yeah.
You know, sin is just missing the mark from God's like perfect standard.
Yeah.
And what he wants as far as what's best for us.
Right.
And so I'm not here to preach, but I truly believe that with all my heart.
Of course.
And it's changed me who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm so much better.
Yeah.
Because of that, not saying I am better, but it's because he is good.
Right.
Right? His goodness shines through me.
Yeah.
And we're called to be a light in this world.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I feel like,
that's what I try to do.
You know, you do a great job of it, first of all. And I think that it's really important, especially in the world that we live in today, you know, to be that light. And especially I talk about this a lot because I work in the social media world. And I feel like extra important now to be that light in every part of your life, right? Whether it's in person, face to face, or whether that's online, right? Because I know a lot of people, and I have fallen short of this as well, of, you know, sometimes you're somebody here and another person here, and it's hard to stay on track sometimes. But I feel like surrounding yourself with people who believe the way you do and that want to be that light as well is really important. And because I work in social media and media in general, I feel like it's really important to not go down the same rabbit holes as the rest of the world. And what I mean by that is a lot of people think that social media is a negative thing and it has a negative impact, and that is not incorrect. Like, that is true. Social media can have a negative impact on your life if you allow it to. But I've always, you know, first of all, believed that social media doesn't put itself in your hand and turn itself on, right? You have to go and you have to turn it on. You have to consume that negativity rather than either publishing and creating content around what you believe that's positive that could help somebody on the other end, or intentionally search out the positive, right? Search and follow people who have a positive message and follow people who want to be a light in the world. And I think that is really important because I feel like as humans, we're drawn towards some of that darkness. We're drawn towards some of the things that are negative for whatever reason, whether it's for entertainment purposes or other things, we're drawn to it. And so we have to be very intentional, especially on social and in other parts, but especially social because it's so addicting, to be intentional about, look, when I'm on social, I'm either creating something that serves a positive purpose or I'm going to follow people who help me in that journey. Right? Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what my lips did there, but yeah.
It just stopped working.
It just stopped working.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's super important in every aspect of life. Like I said, especially on social, because it's so easily to go down that rabbit hole. But it's like, if you don't search, I mean, I heard somebody say this once, and I don't even think it was really in a religious context, but it goes the same way. If you search for negativity and if you search for the things that are bad, you're going to find them, right? Especially in today's digital world. But if you search for positive things and things that are a light and that have a positive impact on other people's lives, then you will find it, right? It's just like, what are you looking for? And what habits have you created within your internal system of, this is just the content that I enjoy consuming, whether it's, something that it has zero value at all, that just has a negative impact on you and your heart and your brain and the way you operate, or it has something that you walk away from consuming that piece and you're like, wow, that makes me want to go be a better father, that makes me want to go be a better businessman, or that makes me want to go be a better employee at my job. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, what you're consuming will translate into how you act in real life at some point, right? And so I just think that that's really important, and I think I see it in your life. You're like everyone that you're around, and I try to be that always. I mean, like I said, everyone falls short, and it's hard to always stay on the right path, but it's good to be around people who think the same way.
Well, you mentioned, what are you searching for? Are you searching for that positivity?
Right.
And it seems to me, just looking at our political atmosphere and looking at the world, that people have a hard time believing anything right now.
Right.
Right? What is truth?
Right.
It's your truth, my truth. Truth is so subjective.
Right.
But I think we really need a standard.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise we're just swaying in the wind.
Right.
We have no direction. When you have a compass, would you want a compass that works?
Yeah. Right.
Or a compass that's like, you know what, it's your compass. You know,
you decide. Yeah.
You decide where it takes you. You know,
Right.
You want a compass that's going to point north. You want to know that that compass is going to work.
Right.
And truth is the same way.
Yeah.
And I think we're all like searching for that. We're searching for meaning. We're searching for truth.
Yeah.
We're searching for love.
Yeah.
And I truly believe if you are genuine in that search, you're going to find it.
Yeah. I think that's so powerful because it's so true. And I think that, again, because of where we live in our world today and just the way things have gone politically, the way things have gone culturally, it's really hard to stay on the right path of, I have a core belief system. Because, I mean, if you look at statistics, families have fallen apart. The divorce rate is higher than it's ever been. All of these things are factors that play into just the well-being of individuals, right? Because if you don't grow up in a solid family unit, some people make it and they're really successful, happy people. But a lot of people will tell you, yeah, I wish that, you know, my parents were around more, or that we did more together, or, you know, and sometimes you can't help it. Sometimes you have parents that die young, right? Yeah. And it's hard. But that's where I think going back to what we were saying, search out, be intentional around your search of, who do I want to surround myself with? If you don't have parents that are there for you, there are friends that are there for you that would love to hang out and help each other grow and just pour into each other, and stuff like that. And so, anyways, I just think that you're spot on with that, and I appreciate you saying it. So, I've included all of the links to find Joshua and his company's social media pages, his websites, and all of those things. So please go check them out. And if you're in the Prescott area, hit them up. If you have questions about dentistry issues, your teeth, whatever it is, and especially the sleep apnea options part of things, definitely just give them a call. Come into their office, introduce yourself, whatever it is. They're great people. You definitely want to make sure that you are in the same community as them. And before we leave, Dr. Josh, you know, what is one thing, talk to these people right here, that you want to leave them with, and that they can take with them the rest of their day?
I thought about this before our meeting. I thought you might ask me, what is success, or
okay.
Unpacking success.
Yeah.
Things. So I would say, you look at, for me, my example is Jesus, and he started preparing for his ministry since he was like 12 years old. But you don't hear about his life from 12 to 30.
Okay.
Right? The Bible only describes the last 3 years of his life, his ministry. But it's like during that time, I believe he was preparing. I believe he was studying and learning. So my answer to that is, be prepared, take time, be patient. Yeah. You know, study, learn. Yeah. And that's how you're going to grow. Surround yourself with individuals who are propelling you to that next step. Yeah. Not people that are bringing you down and who are negative all the time, but people that are pushing you and encouraging you and motivating you. And success, truly, I think, is preparedness meeting opportunity. So you're prepared, but when that opportunity comes, when that door opens, you're ready to walk through it. Yeah. So that's what I want to leave with you guys is, don't fret if you don't know what you want to do when you grow up or where you're at in your life. You know, find something you're passionate about and study it, throw your whole self into it.
Yeah.
And the time will come. And when that door comes, be prepared to walk through it. And don't be scared if the door closes.
Yeah.
For me, that's like a sign that maybe that wasn't the right path or it's not the right time.
Yeah.
So be patient, trust the process, you know, and I believe that God has a plan for us all.
Yeah.
So if you can trust that you have something better for you, you're going to do really well with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it any better. That is a perfect way to wrap this thing up. Dr. Allen, thank you so much.
Absolutely,
it's been a pleasure
brother.
getting to know you and Dina and the whole team, and it's been a pleasure getting to work with you guys. You guys, thank you so much for listening to this or watching this, whichever platform you're on right now. I really appreciate it, and stay tuned for the next one.
Yes.
See ya.
See ya.